Just as we all thought, the Detroit Tigers take two from the New York Mets on Wednesday. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, May 4th, 2023. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. What a ball game, plural. What a pair of ball games for your Detroit Tigers. They win twice against the New York Mets on Wednesday. What a fun day of baseball. What a fun day of baseball. They take two. First game was a score of 6-5. Second game was a score of 8-1. Game two, they beat up on Max Scherzer in his in a homecoming to Detroit. Went 3 1/3. The Tigers were all over them. What a fun day. What a fun day. The Tigers are now 12-17 on the season. Where do you even want to start? Like, for real, where do we even start? That was so fun. Baseball is fun. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but today it felt like that. Baseball is fun. Winning is fun. And game two was genuinely, I'm trying to think, that might have been the best game of the year as far as like how well they played. Game two might have been the best the team looked all season in like every facet. Starting pitching great, bullpen great, offense spectacular. Game two was maybe the most complete and well-rounded game of the Tigers season so far. And game one really only had one fault because, well, two. Joey Wentz did not look very good in his start. We'll talk about him in a second. And then the offense, what do we say all the time? I say a lot of stuff all the time. A point that we have reiterated over and over again is that this team, for whatever reason, has solid approaches through like 4 or 5 innings and then great approaches in either the bottom of the 8th to then go ahead into the top of the 9th, or if they're the visiting team, like the top of the 9th. They're always good approaches in their last set of at-bats and in the first like 4 innings. Innings 5 through 7 or 8 is usually a complete toss-up on what you are going to get. And in game one, that point was exemplified. Really, really, really magnified. Like that, you had a really good approach, right? You had a really good approach. You were hitting homers. You were scoring a lot of runs. The starting pitcher's struggling. They get back in the game. You're still putting pressure on them. And then you get, 15 batters in a row retired? You get perfect gamed through the equivalent of like 5 innings. And then you win the ballgame. Like, it's mind-boggling. But baseball is hard. Baseball is very, very hard. I would venture to say hitting a baseball is the most difficult thing to do in sports, especially at the major league level. So I always have to remember that, and remember that I'm the one talking about the dudes that are actually out there doing it. But it's mind-boggling how consistent it is. But it was a win. And game two, whole game, fantastic. Incredible approaches at the plate. Vibes are high. Vibes are high. I'm so pumped. What a great, great day. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just start with the offense, just overall on the day. We don't even really need to divide it into game one, game two. We will for the pitching performances for sure, but offensively, man, for what? 14 of the 18 innings played today, 13 of the 18 innings today. Really, really, really solid, well executed, productive outs, which is something this team is allergic to, usually, or at least was for most of April. I guess maybe I shouldn't say is. We got more baseball played than we don't. But in April, this team was the most unclutch baseball team at the plate I'd ever seen in my entire life. And so it's nice for 2 games in a row. They went 4 for 9 on the day. Both games combined, 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They only left 7 men on base the entire ball game. The entire day, both ball games combined, only left 7 men on base. 5 in one, 2 in the other. 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position, 2 for 4 in one, 2 for 5 in the other. Going into these games, this team was batting like 188 or 189 with runners in scoring position. Just went out there and hit over 400 with runners in scoring position across 2 games today. Very solid stuff. Also, a power stroke. Oh my goodness. Home runs for both teams, granted, flying out of the park. Javi Baez finally gets his first home run of the season. Matt Vierling hits a bomb to the deep part of left center field. A tank. And the one thing we talked about with Vierling a lot, right, was that he had a hard time pulling the ball on the barrel. And we had just talked about him in the April recap episode a couple of days ago. When we were kind of just talking about in general as the entire team, we talked about how Vierling was wreaking havoc on the base pass, was a really big plus defender and another great defensive play in this game as well. And then at the plate, he was putting the ball in play a lot, but he was barreling up nothing. And he absolutely smoked a baseball for a home run in this one. 2 multi-home run games in the same day. I what's that clip? Who was that? John Wall to Bradley Beal? I ain't never ever. Like, that's really like, I could not tell you the last time I saw that type of performance from this offense. Just and doubles being hit. I mean, Eric Haase we'll get to in a second. He was obviously the standout offensively. But really, really sound performances top to bottom offensively. So impressive. So impressive. And like, I mean, I know like Chris Castellani, former host of this show, talked about the AL East thing and how this team is beating a lot of good teams, just none of the ones in the AL East. Like, this is a series win against the Mets. They now have series wins, obviously, against the Mets. They have series wins against the Astros. They have a series win against the Brewers. Like, you're talking about playoff teams, perennial playoff teams, teams that are either winning their divisions now or pretty much close to guaranteed to make the playoffs. Tigers winning a lot of series against them. And I'm not trying to tell you that like the Tigers are going to go through and like be a playoff team this year or anything even close to that. But it is nice to see them have the ability to beat good ball clubs. Last year was one of the worst offenses any of us have ever seen. This year, while they are still toward the bottom in a lot of offensive categories, today was a great day. Today was a great day with a lot of runs scored. 8-1 victory, 6-5 victory, clutch hitting. Beautiful. We'll get more in depth with some of it. We got to talk about Eric Haase, obviously. Then we'll talk about the pitching performances. But first, I got to tell y'all about our friends over at BetterHelp. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. I've been a big advocate for therapy very openly for a long time. I've been going myself for 5 or 6 years. And, you know, it's really easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need for yourself. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. It's really, really a great tool. I recommend therapy to so many people, really everyone I know. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. I know I say it every day, but I cannot stress how awesome that tool and feature is for BetterHelp. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonmlb. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Segment 2 here, Locked On Tigers. Thank you all for making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every single day. We will be back tomorrow, potentially recapping a sweep, question mark. Not going to get ahead of myself. I'll gladly take the series victory, but that's what we're going to be talking about on tomorrow's show. What a man, I'm going to say this a million times this episode. What a great day. What a great, great day. With just some days you just need, and the team had been scuffling and the offense was frustrating and whatnot. And just to have a day where the offense was flowing and hitting off a first ballot Hall of Fame pitcher and just really like a comfortable victory against a team that's much better than you just feels great. It feels great. Eric Haase, man, have a day, kid. What a day for Eric Haase. 5 RBIs in game 1, a home run in each of the 2 ball games. Look, so April Eric Haase is a thing. Like I don't know if he's ever talked about it, but like if you look at his career splits, his OPS in April is like 560. Now, the thing is, his OPS in May is also like 560 or 580. And then June, July, it's like 880 and 900 or whatever. Like he just absolutely crushes in the warm months of the summer up here. So I would like to think that this is hopefully a sign that maybe April Haase in the review mirror, we're skipping May Haase and we're going straight to June, baby. How about that? That sounds good to me. But we literally just talked about this 2 days ago. We talked about this on, what was that, Tuesday's show when we did the April recap. This team, desperate. I mean, we've said it a million times this season. Like you either need clutch hitting or you need a power stroke. This team's had neither for pretty much the entire first month of the season. In both games today, they had both. And that was nice to see. But if you're looking at specific players where you are going to rely on power on this team, okay, you're going to look at Eric Haase is going to be one of the first dudes you look at. You're going to look at Javi. He homered today finally. Great to see. Crushed that baseball, by the way. That was an absolute rocket. Eric Haase, obviously, you're gonna turn to him. And then, like, I guess Spencer Torkelson is in that conversation. And then now Kerry Carpenter is too, but he's hurt currently. So, like, if you're talking about the players for the team with the worst slugging percentage in baseball, like your Detroit Tigers, where are you going to find power the rest of the season? Because it doesn't grow on trees. You're not going to bring in anybody that's going to do that in the middle of May. Where are you going to find that power stroke? Eric Haase certainly brought it today. Absolutely fantastic. And on top of that, he also brought one of the most clutch hits of the entire season. The 2 RBI single in the 8th there. Tigers down 4-5, end up winning 6-5 because of it. So WPA is like a really fun stat. It doesn't really evaluate talent all that much, I guess, over the course of like game to game. I guess if you look at somebody's WPA over a course of a season, maybe it does, or it probably does. But it's kind of a weird stat to look at. Anyway, so it's wins wins probability added. So it's telling you in a specific at bat, like as simple as an at bat, an entire outing, etc., how much did this player add to their team's win probability. Eric Haase, the Mets were obviously favored to win. They were the win expectancy was significantly in the Mets' favor when Eric Haase was at the plate there in the bottom of the eighth, with 2 men on. And that double led Eric Haase to a plus 70.8 wins probability added. Between his 3-run homer in the first inning of that game, and then obviously that 5 ribbies for Haase on the day, single-handedly raised the Tigers' win probability by almost 71% by himself. Just an absolute put the team on my back him performance. He was fantastic. And again, homered it right early on-ish in the game, in game 2. So like, really, 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 if you want the power stroke to come, we're looking at you, Eric Haase, and it was great to see that today. Pitching, let's get to the pitching side of things. Joey Wentz obviously starts game 1, did not look great. Honestly, I just don't think he really had a feel for anything. Like, none of his stuff was moving. I've even in his bad starts this year, I've defended him and been like, like this guy's stuff is really good. I feel like if he just doesn't let start snowball, if he can get more consistent, even when staring in the face of like runners in scoring position, that he could turn into a pretty decent pitcher. But today, just like not a lot of movement. And he ended up just relying on the fastball. Like that's what people do, right? If you don't have movement on your stuff, you're just going to try to place a 4-seam fastball well. You're just going to try to command the fastball and hope for the best. That's kind of what he had to do in this one. The cutter just didn't seem to have as much movement as I was used to. The changeup, he didn't throw very much, and when he did, it wasn't a fantastic pitch. Just didn't have the stuff today, and ended up giving up 5 runs. Not too like he's not going anywhere. Again, we had the same conversation with Turnbull. Who are you replacing him with? No, there is no one. There's no one in line there. There's no one knocking on the door. So barring injury, like he's not going anywhere, and I'm okay with that. I want to see this Joey Wentz thing through. He was really, really good in September of last season, and he has had a couple of really good starts this season as well. His last 2 have obviously not been good, but I'm not throwing away like my opinion of Joey Wentz off of 2 starts in April and early May. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to try to convince you that this was a good outing because it absolutely wasn't. I guess we can kind of just do both starting pitchers. Michael Lorenzen gets game 2. Easily his best start as a Detroit Tiger. Lowers his ERA from, it was like 7 something, and now it's just over 5. Like, that'll do it. 7 innings of 1-run ball. Only had 6 swings and misses, I guess. Only 6 whiffs. I guess. I know that it was only 6. And it was a really interesting start because he obviously he only had 1 strikeout and 6 whiffs. Like that's not a very big, like, dominating swing and miss performance. He had more walks than Ks in the game. But kept runners off the base paths and despite giving up a lot of leadoff base runners, was able to get double plays, tightrope his way out of danger, and really limit damage. And the way he did that was, for me, I think he was playing to the park. There was, we can call it what it is, man. Like, there was a lot of loud outs. There was a lot of deep fly ball outs in this ballgame. A lot of 10, 15, 20 feet away from a home run flyouts for Michael Lorenzen in this ballgame. But you play in Comerica Park, even with the outfields in, still one of the biggest parks in baseball. So use it to your advantage. And we talked about that on the April week recap show as well, right? Like, we talked about that. We talked about how this team gets a lot of fly ball outs, and they don't give up a lot of line drives. They don't give up a ton of super hard contact, but they definitely play to their park and try to utilize fly ball outs, and have been doing it pretty successfully so far this season. And Michael Lorenzen played into that pretty darn well. I didn't think the stuff was awful, just didn't have swing and miss stuff, and was trying to pound the strike zone. Really went 4-seam fastball heavy in this one, but the slider was the best pitch. And actually, despite not getting a lot of swings and misses, did have quite a few called strikes. And I think that that's the sign of good pitch calling and good pitch mixing as well. So Was really, really pleased with what he did. Again, like a lot of loud outs. I can't say that phrase for some reason, apparently. But like, I think it was somewhat intentional and got called strikes when he needed to. And that was really, really cool to see. The slider had a 46%, 45% CSW percentage, called strikes plus whiffs percentage. So really, really effective pitch there, mostly again due to called strikes rather than swings and misses. I don't care which one it is, as long as it's a strike, baby. That's all that matters to me. So really, really good performance by him. Let's get into the bullpen because I want to give this bullpen a, almost just swore, boatload of credit, a ton of credit. Okay, besides Eric Haase, probably the MVP of these games were, I guess that's not really one player, the bullpen as a whole, but really deserve a ton of credit. We'll get into why after I tell y'all about our friends over at Rocket Money. Try it free for 30 days, just enough time to enjoy it and then completely forget about it. We've heard it a million times. In fact, over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. You could be wasting money and not even realize it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for ones you don't use. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? I mean, off the top of your head, most people think it's around $80 a month, when in actuality, it's closer to $200. A lot of people are fooled by how much they're paying on subscriptions. So if you don't know exactly how much that is, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about, and chances are you are one of them. It's really, really clutch is the word I use for it. I went through it a couple of weeks ago and found several, like an embarrassing amount of subscriptions that I totally forgotten about or signed up for the free trial and then started getting billed for. So over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving them, the average person, up to $720 a year. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB today. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Third and final segment here, Locked On Tigers. What a day. What a fun day. This bullpen deserves so much credit. So much credit. And we've talked a lot. The bullpen's been a talking point this season because early on they were absolutely dreadful. And then the next 2 weeks, they were fantastic. And ever since then, right, we got 2 weeks and 2 weeks. And then ever since the last couple of weeks, I guess, we've been in this weird limbo phase. We've been trying to figure out which one's sustainable, which one's going to stick, which players are going to stick, and what the vibe of and just production of this bullpen is going to be this season. And today, for two different reasons, they did both jobs of a bullpen in one day, just across two different games. Okay, you had game 2, which you had a lead, you held it, the lead got bigger, you held it, you didn't let the other team back into the game. Holding a lead is, mainstream-wise, most people just think is the biggest job that a bullpen has. And that's probably true. I guess I don't really have anything to say otherwise. Like, obviously, you want to win games in which you get a lead in, and you want to hold leads. That is quite literally the point of sports, is to win. So that's probably fair. But one of the most underrated and overlooked jobs of a bullpen is to keep the score where it's at when you're losing. I cannot stress enough how important that is to a Major League Baseball team. And in game 1, the Tigers were losing. Their starter had given up 5 runs. And guess how many runs the Mets ended that game with? 5. They went to the pen. They went to Will Vest, who was in Toledo 2 weeks ago and almost, again, keeps proving me wrong and still has a 0 ERA on the season, almost threw 2 full innings. Then Tyler Alexander, was that the game when he threw 1 pitch and got a win? And then they go to Alex Lang, who is genuinely one of the nastiest pitchers in the entire game of baseball. And I don't think he's talked about nearly enough on the national stage, probably because he plays for the Tigers. But genuine, what is his ERA right now? 1.3. One of the filthiest pitchers in the game of baseball. And the only thing holding Alex Lang back so far in his major league career was consistent command. And so far, he has not gotten himself into too much trouble with walking batters, with an inability to find the strike zone, etc. Absolutely crushing it. And then again, in game 2, then you have Jason Foley finishes that game. I obviously am very loudly one of the biggest Jason Foley fans out there. But Tyler Holton, a sub-2 ERA so far, been here 2 or 3 weeks now. Like you are just checking all the boxes today across the board. Even if it wasn't both starters doing well, you had a good start. You had 2 great bullpen performances for different reasons. You had clutch hitting, you had extra base hits, you had a home run stroke, you had a power swing. You had good approaches when you have 12 hits and 14 base runners in game 2. Took Max Scherzer out of the game through 3 1/3. The only downside to today, not even downside, the only knocks on today were innings, whatever that was, 5 through 7, 4 through 7 of game 1 offensively, and then Joey Wentz. Besides that, nearly flawless. Actually, that's not true. Defense. Holy cow, I can't believe I almost forgot this. I don't even know. The defense in game 1, it's just so funny. That's just how baseball and how the universe works. Like, I come on the air and I talk about how the Tigers have the 3rd best team outs above average in all of baseball, and they've been playing really good defensively this year since the opening series. The Tampa series was awful, and since then I thought they've played really good defense. And then just 2 back-to-back awful defensive plays in the outfield in game 1. You have Riley Green just not getting the glove down, ground ball in the outfield, just rolls right past him. Then you have Andy Ibanez in left field. Didn't even know that was going to be an option this season, but apparently it was. Just completely airmails the cutoff man, bounces off Jake Rogers, rolls away, scores a run. Infuriating. I was so angry. And then on top of that, again, you went through like a drought offensively. I was furious. And then Eric Haase turned into Superman. And from then on out, pretty much the rest of the evening, I was a happy camper. So those were the 3 knocks on today. Outfield defense in game 1. Offense for 3 of 9 innings in game 1. And the starting pitcher in game 1. I guess they're all in game 1. Game 2 might have been the game of the performance, I should say, of the year. I don't know about game of the year. It wasn't like a close back and forth, like fun baseball game for anybody who wasn't a Tigers fan. But I as far as just all around, dominant. They won 8-1. Like that was a dominant performance in every facet of the game. And now you've guaranteed a series win against a team that going into it, a lot of people were saying, if we take one, I'm happy. And you're setting yourself up where it's against Verlander, but it's his first start of the year. I guess we can say who knows how he's going to look. I probably shouldn't say that. He's probably going to look fantastic. He's Justin Verlander in Comerica Park, but you've set yourself up nicely. Really, really nicely for the day game on Thursday. 1 o'clock start. I had a comment the other day where somebody said they wished that I would say what time the next day's game started so that they didn't have to look it up because they listen to me on their way to work. I love that comment. The Tigers, let me look it up right now. I think it's a 1 p.m. I should start trying to do that more. 1:10 p.m. on Thursday. There you go. 1:10 against Verlander. Do what you did in game 2. That's just going to be like the rest of the year, I could say that. It's the dog days of July. The Tigers have lost 5 straight. Well, if you want to turn this thing around, do what you did in game 2 on Wednesday, May 3rd. And that should right the ship. And that really is what it's going to be. And like, as far as individual performances outside of Haase offensively, I don't even really have again, we talk about it all the time, but like There are some performances that are so bad there's no analysis. There are also some that are so good there's no analysis. I could just go down the line, really. Spencer Torkelson had a really nice hard hit double today. He went 0 for, I think, in game 1, but game 2 looked solid. I mean, like Javi finally with the homer. I think he went 0 for in one of the 2 games. Well, I guess not the game he went a homer. He had a homer in. I think he went 0 for in game 2 as well. Matt Vierling, solid. Haase, obviously. Andy Ibanez had a pretty good day. There you go. Starting to finally see some production out of somebody who was crushing in Toledo before getting called up. That's good. Just an awesome, awesome day. So I'm sorry if I was kind of like all over the place or if we didn't go too individual with it. But A, had 2 games to cover. That's more than usual for an episode. But B, everybody hit. Everybody looked good at the plate. Everybody was contributing. Like I said, even outs were positive outs. Like Riley Green, yes, it was a ground ball to the right side. Like that's infuriating. But move the runners to second and third, and then Eric Haase gave us a lead. And that was consistent. Outs were even productive. We haven't seen that at all this season. Awesome day. Awesome, awesome day. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every single day. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully recapping a sweep against the Mets. We'll see, though. Justin Verlander, heck of a pitcher. Probably going to get a nice Thursday afternoon ovation at Comerica Park. But we'll see. And you know, he dices us up. The offense goes back to not being able to hit. It's against the first ballot Hall of Famer. We lose, 5-0. We won the series against the Mets. I'll take it. I'll gladly take it. All right. High vibes and high fives. Dang right, baby. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Go Tigers, baby.